On July 14th, in 1862, in Baumgarten, Vienna, Austria, Gustav Klimt was born to Ernest and Anna Klimt as the second of 7 children. Ernest Klimt, a very prominent gold engraver in Baumgarten, saw artistic promise in all 3 of his sons from early ages, but it was Gustav who exploited his potential. After finishing his primary schooling, Gustav attended the Vienna School of Arts and Crafts. He was immediately successful in his early works, which are viewed to be very academic and consisted primarily of architectural paintings. After starting his career as a painter, Klimt was first and foremost inspired by women, especially ones in his personal life. He readily pictured them in the nude to show the true and natural beauty that they exemplified, but his work is also known for their often vulgar and obscene nature. Though he had consistent subjects in women and the human form, Klimt went through 3 major styles during the course of his career: Byzantine, water, and Oriental. It was in his first artistic period, Byzantine, that his most famous works, The Kiss and The Lady in Gold, were created. Soon, though, Klimt underwent a stylistic metamorphosis, influenced now by water, evident in the flow patterns of the paintings and his use of lines. Klimt's final stylistic inspiration, known as his Orient or Oriental era, picked women, patterns, and colors heavily associated with the Asian regions. In the portrait of Amalie Zuckerkandl, all 3 styles are evident. It can be seen in the original sketches for the painting that Amalie is portrayed starting with her facial details and down to her décolletage and shoulders, with heavy parallelism to Klimt's other works during the time of Byzantine influence. Klimt's change in stylistic influence from gold to that of the smooth lines of aquatic nature is seen in the flow pattern of the dress, and finally, with his switch to an oriental focus, so came the varying colors of the dress and background. But more imperative to the understanding of the painting and the journey it took after the death of the artist is understanding the featured woman, Amalie Zuckerkandl. Amalie wasn't Jewish, but rather converted shortly after her marriage to Dr. Otto Zuckerkandl, surgeon and later a university professor. Otto's brothers and sister-in-law, as well as his close friend, Ferdinand Bloch-Bauer, all composed a close circle around Gustav Klimt. Amalia's portrait was commissioned in 1913, right before her and her husband went abroad to help the World War I war effort. When she returned in 1915, Klimt resumed working on the portrait, but her painting was largely left unfinished when Klimt's death arrived in 1918. The portrait went to Bloch-Bauer, along with several other Klimts, including the portrait of his wife, Adele, also known as the Lady in Gold. In 1942, Amalie and her daughters were deported to Threshold, where it is presumed they were murdered in the Blaise concentration camp. The piece remained in the Bloch-Bauer estate until the family was forced to flee Austria in 1938, where then the SS officer Dr. Erich Führer then sold it to Amalie's son-in-law, who in turn sold it to an art dealer by the name of Vita Künstler. Künstler kept the painting until her death in 2001, after which it was donated to the Belvedere Gallery in Vienna. In 2006, official ownership of the painting was granted to the state of Austria. However, on October 2013, an art exhibition, Facing the Modern, a Portrait of Vienna in 1900, was held in London as the centerpiece, being the portrait of Amalie Zuckerkandl on loan from the Belvedere Gallery. The attention sparked controversy, many deeming the piece Nazi loot and stolen art, because it did not belong to the museum but to the heirs of the Bloch-Bauers. The argument from the Austrian state undermining the claim of Nazi looting is that the Bloch-Bauers asked the SS officer Dr. Heinrich Führer to liquidate his estate, which would have included the paintings. Blackbauer was known to have continued correspondence with Führer even after his evacuation from Austria and left Führer in charge of caring for his estate. Opposing counsel, representing the heirs of the Blackbauers, denied these claims, but there simply wasn't enough proof, and the Austrian Supreme Court rejected the request for reparations to the heirs. But it seems the council will not let the ruling rest. In 2013, California-based lawyer E. Randall Suttenberg, who specialized in art reparations and worked with Maria Altmann on her high-profile attempt to retrieve another Klimt, portrait of her Aunt Adele, or the Lady in Gold, took interest in the piece and began preparing his argument against the Austrian Supreme Court on behalf of Altmann, who would be the rightful heir of the portrait of Amalie Zuckerkandl as well. Sottenberg stated, "The portrait of Emile is Nazi-looted painting, wrongfully withheld by the arboritional panel. Under Austrian law, as it is currently being interpreted, the painting would be returned to the Ferdinand's heirs." Sottenberg even went as far as to put pressure on London's National Gallery to request the Austrian Supreme Court re-evaluate their decision before the painting be returned to the Belvedere Gallery in 2014. Sottenberg published a detailed outline of his argument against the Austrian government keeping the portrait of Emile Zuckerkandl, including the reparation laws passed by the same court in 1998, but little has been said from either side since. It is impossible to know what happened to the portrait of Emile Zuckerkandl immediately after the departure from Austria. If the painting was looted, it should be returned to the heirs of the Blackbauers. If the Blackbauers requested that the painting be sold, he did so during a time of distress. Although both the Supreme Court and Altmann's counsel have been quiet on the matter over the past couple of years, both sides are undoubtedly preparing for a very public case, and it can be assured that Altmann's counsel will not rest until the portrait of Emile Zuckerkandl has been rightfully returned to the heirs.